immediately left without taking anything. In all, he admitted to robbing 9 graves. During questioning, now I may not pronounce this correctly, but Washara County Sheriff Art Sheely allegedly assaulted Ed, banging his head and face into a brick wall to get a confession. Now, this confession was ruled as inadmissible. However, the sheriff did testify during Ed's trial, and a month after the trial, the sheriff passed away from a heart attack. His friends and family said that Sheely was so traumatized by the horrors of Gein's crimes, and that, along with his fear of having to testify against Gein, including the fact that he assaulted Gein, took its toll on sheriff's health. In November of 1957, Gein was arraigned on 1 count of first-degree murder, but was found mentally incompetent to stand trial and was sent to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane. But in 1968, his doctors determined he was sane enough to stand trial. He was found guilty, but because he had previously been declared insane, he was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in the mental hospital. Ed Gein passed away in 1984 due to respiratory and heart failure caused by cancer. Deranged is available on streaming services, of Epix and Apple TV right now. And last we have The Lords of Chaos. It's from 2018. And it's not really a horror movie, but it's worth a watch. Now, it was adapted from the 1998 book of the same name and is a historical fiction account of the early 90s Norwegian black metal scene, told from the perspective of the Mayhem co-founder Euronymous. So in 1987, Euronymous formed a black metal band named Mayhem. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the band, but there's some controversy that surrounds them. If you are familiar, then I'm sure you already know the story. I do like their music, so don't think of this as me insulting them at all. Now, so that I don't slaughter anyone's name, I'm only going with the stage names on this one. The lead singer of Mayhem was known by his name, or known by his stage name, Dead, and exhibited erratic behavior on the stage, such as cutting himself and bleeding on the audience, throwing pigs' heads at those that he felt were posers, and other shenanigans. On April 8th, 1991, Dead kills himself using his personal knife to cut his arm and throat. And when that didn't do the job, he used a shotgun that was owned by Euronymous to shoot himself in the forehead. When Euronymous returns home and finds Dead's body, instead of calling the police, now this part I'm not sure is 100% accurate, but the movie portrays him as driving to a convenience store to buy a disposable camera, and then drives back and takes photos of the body and even rearranges the gun and knife. After the body is finally taken to the morgue, Euronymous gives the other band members necklaces, which he claimed contained parts of Dead's skull. Now, this led to the basis for Mayhem. His name was Necro Butcher, to leave the band. I mean, with a name like Necro Butcher, how can you be offended by being gifted a piece of your friend's skull on a necklace? After all of the fallout, Euronymous opened a record store where a lot of popular Norwegian music stars hung out, so he recruited new band members, including Faust from Emperor and Varg, who was a fan of Mayhem's. Not long after, they recorded their first album and were able to do so because of a financial donation by Varg's mom. It's good to see parents believing and helping make their kids' dreams come true, right? Now, not long after recording the first album, a power struggle arises between Euronymous and the new band member named Varg. An interesting note about Varg is that Mayhem met him after a show one night, or this is what the movie shows, is that they met, it was like in a little diner type thing, but this was after one of Mayhem's shows, and back then Varg was known as Christian. they kind of thought he was a poser and they just kind of dismissed him. A string of church burnings takes place across the region, and Faust is accused of murdering a homosexual man. The movie portrays this murder as Faust being sexually harassed by the man. Varg thinks it would be good publicity for the band if they make it known that they're responsible for the church burnings, so he contacts a reporter and gives him information in an interview, claiming that the Black Circle, aka the elite inner circle of Euronymous' friends, were responsible for the church burnings and even for the death of the homosexual man. Now, Euronymous didn't think that was a good idea, and he tried to talk him out of it, but Varg went ahead with that. But soon after, Varg is arrested, and Euronymous is beyond pissed. Varg was later released from jail because of a lack of evidence. Out of anger, Euronymous vents to a friend that he wants to kill Varg, but later comes down and meets Varg to discuss future plans, including releasing music rights to Varg. Later, Euronymous mailed a contract to Varg stating that their rights to the music were released to Varg and that he would soon pay Varg the money he owes him. Varg had heard that Euronymous wants to kill him, and in the early morning hours of August the 10th, he traveled to Oslo to confront Euronymous. He got into Euronymous' apartment by telling him that he wanted to sign the contract, but once he was inside Euronymous' apartment, Varg starts stabbing Euronymous. As Euronymous begs for his life, Varg follows him through the apartment to the stairwell outside and stabs him to death. Varg is soon arrested and sentenced to a maximum of 21 years for the murder of Euronymous and the burning of several churches. Now, remember those pictures that I mentioned earlier that Euronymous took of dead before calling the police? One of those pictures was used on the cover of one of the band's albums. I believe it was the 1995 album, The Dawn of Black Hearts. Varg was released from prison in 2009 and moved to France with his wife and children, where he continues to make and write music. Now, I know that since I mentioned it, you're probably going to want to see the cover of that album if you haven't already seen it. I do have to warn you that it's a bit graphic. So, if you're the least bit squeamish, just skip looking at it. Now, at the moment, Lords of Chaos is available on Hulu and Apple TV. Something to keep in mind, though, is if you do decide to watch it, this movie isn't 100% based on facts. And when the movie's coming on, it does say it's based on truth and lies. Euronymous is portrayed by Rory Culkin, and you might know his famous brother from Home Alone movies. Other actors include Emery Cohen as Varg, Jack Kilmer as Dead, and Sky Ferreira as Anne Merritt. It seems like I told you the entire story, but there's a lot more to it, and I really highly recommend watching it if you haven't already seen it. So now I'm going to switch gears to remind y'all that the new moon is coming up on January the 13th. That's 2 days from this recording day on the 11th. But it's on the 13th at 12:02 a.m. Eastern Time. And it's going to bring some major changes for 4 zodiac signs. For the Aries, this new moon is calling on you to put some serious thought into planning your future, especially in the career sense. If you're unhappy with your current job, it's a good time to start looking for something else. If you're happy with the job you have, start a new project that really makes your skills shine and it impresses your boss. For the Cancers, a new start at love is heading your way. It's time to start working really hard on what thinking about what you really want out of a relationship. If you're already dating somebody, now is the time to take things to the next level. But if you're single, use this energy to look into yourself and see how you can be the better half of a future relationship and learn to speak up for yourself about what you need from your partner. Libras, if you're not feeling like your usual social butterfly self, and trust me, most of us don't these days, it doesn't matter what sign, but just know that this is A-OK. And this is the perfect time to really get into your domestic side and tend to what needs tending to close to home. Cook yourself a healthy meal. Do some of those chores you've been putting off. And you could practice a little self-care too. I have found that when you clear the clutter around you, it improves your energy and focus. And for us Capricorns, things are going to get shaken up, especially with Pluto and the Sun joining the planetary party that's currently going on. So this new moon for Capricorns is all about you, building new beginnings and embracing your most authentic self. Listen to your heart and be the author of your journey. You hold that pen. Also, your creative juices are flowing, so go with them. I have to say this is very true for me right now because I've been cranking out some jewelry lately and decided to reopen my Etsy shop. Well, that's all I have for today. Thanks for listening. And I also want to thank y'all for, as of right now, there's over 700 downloads of the podcast. And this is only episode 4, so the sky's the limit. But as always, if you have any, sorry, I feel like I'm getting the crud this morning. But if you have an episode idea, comments, questions, or just want to say hey, shoot me an email at mysterymurdermagic@gmail.com. And that's M as in Mary, YSTERY, M as in Mary, URDER, M as in Mary, AGICK@gmail.com. And also be sure to check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/3, and that's the number 3, M as in Mary podcast. Have an awesome week.